last week, Google had their little press event at GDC, and they announced Google Stadia, which is a video game streaming service of some sort. Um, Last year, around when Assassin's Creed Odyssey came out, they did a little test beta thing with a couple of with some. I'm not really sure how you got into it, but there were a group of people that got to test this out and see how it worked and everything like that. And the idea is, you basically can play any game you want within your Chrome browser. That was what was going on during the beta test, and that was basically what they announced on stage. But it's going to expand a little bit more than that. Like, you'll be able to play it on if you have like a Google Chromecast, or if your TV has a baked-in Google like Chromecast app on it. You'll be able to play right on your smart TV, and you'll also be able to play right on your phone or your tablet. Basically allowing you to, as long as you have a good enough internet connection, to play AAA style games on almost any device that can connect to the internet. Not a whole lot was announced on like how you're going to buy the games, if it's going to be a subscription service or if it's going to be like buying it per game or renting or anything like that. I guess they're going to talk about a little bit more about that later on. But we just wanted to talk about it and see how we all feel about a service like this, because they're not the only ones that are kind of going down this road. Xbox has an app, has a system that they're working on, and PlayStation Now is kind of similar to this, so it's not the first time we've heard this. I'm just wondering what you guys think about this potentially being a future for gaming.
It has a possibility, obviously, but as you were talking, that PlayStation Now is kind of similar, and Xbox has stuff that they're working on as well. I rarely see people talk about PlayStation Now. It could be something amazing, or it could just flop. But
yeah, I don't really hear people talking about PlayStation Now either. Does anybody use it?
Exactly. I've
Here?
never used it.
No.
Never saw a purpose in doing it. I think it's possibly overpriced at the time. Just was easier to play your games.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the price on PlayStation Now was a big factor into why people didn't really jump on it. It was kind of all over the place as far as I remember. Like, they kept changing it and kept announcing different things, and the library was never quite where at least I wanted it to be when I was like, oh man, I wish I could play this game, look it up, oh, it's not on there, or something like that.
It is now, no pun intended, bit more extensive. However, again, it comes down to Sony has a big problem with overpricing things, and it causes, I guess, the users to not want to use it. PlayStation Plus used to be cheaper than Xbox Live, and then, well, we're going to up that too. Then they got rid of all the extra stuff that you get from PlayStation Plus with that as well. So it's diminishing, and this is an opportunity for Google to jump into the game, so to speak, with this. The problem that they're going to run into is, as you said, if you don't have a stable internet connection, that could really kill it.
Yeah.
So,
well, literally, yeah, it would literally kill it.
Now, the thing to think about, if you could play it anywhere with any device that has this Google thing, does that mean that we'll be able to play it off of our phones, not using Wi-Fi, but actually using our data? And
Right.
if you can get away with doing that, so you're sitting there waiting for, I don't know, some appointment or whatever it might be, doctor's office or something, and you can play the game as long as you use your data.
Yeah.
Is that possible, or will it consume all your data real quick?
Right.
So.
Yeah. So, like, there's two questions there: whether or not the current you know, cell phone data infrastructure could even support the speeds needed, and whether or not you have data caps and how fast you're going to hit it with
Mhm.
when you're doing this. So what they said was, I believe 1080p 60 frames per second is going to need about 25 megabits per second connection, or megabytes. I always get confused between those two. I think it's megabytes per second.
Yeah.
Um, and so, how quickly is that going to eat up your? No, it has to be megabits. 25 megabytes per second is insane.
Yeah,
Um,
I was gonna say
um,
woo.
so anyway, how fast is that going to eat up your data cap? Do you have unlimited data? That's
Even if you
great.
do,
Yeah, like,
is it
and
gonna
like hell,
diminish your quality?
AT&T isn't going to throttle that when you start playing something for, like, you're playing it for an hour and they're like, what the fuck is this guy doing eating up all this data?
Yeah.
Um,
Now, do you guys remember how when that football app came out for, I think it was Verizon or AT&T, and they're like, you're not going to be using your data as long as you're streaming through our stuff?
I don't remember that. No.
I don't remember exactly the football one, but there's been times to where, like, if you had a
Or
certain service and were
movies
using Netflix, you would get
where they don't
it would
pull from
reflect
your
on your
actual
data.
data.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now
Hmm.
the question is Google ever going to come up with something like that? Now, if they come up with something like that to tie in with this, oh yeah, you could kill the industry literally. So, I mean,
Yeah, I guess so. And they've been on and off with their, um, actually installing their own internet lines throughout the country, like,
mhm.
trying to. But I think they stopped doing that because, surprise, it costs a lot of money to run wires all over a
This
gigantic
guy would
country.
know.
Yeah.
I do it for a
Um,
living.
so, like, I mean, if they had that infrastructure there, and it's like, hey, if you're on Google Fiber or whatever, then, it's all included, or whatever, then that would be great. But that's not the case right now. So you're going to be dealing with your ISPs. You're going to be dealing with Comcast, Verizon. You're going to Spectrum and
Yep.
stuff like that.
Yeah, and they're gonna have
So
to set up a lot more data centers to even be able to process this too.
yeah, I guess
Because
they seem to be indicating that they have the data centers in place. They have the enough data centers around the country to handle their end of it anyway. Whether or not the internet's the ISPs are going to be able to handle it, who knows? But so I guess that's not that big of a deal unless it obviously becomes massively popular and they can't keep up with it. But
Mhm.
because they've been doing things like this, kind of like, I mean, they're YouTube, right? So they've been pushing digital video across the internet for like over a decade now. So they have an idea of what it takes to do that, but obviously, storing an MP4 on a hard drive is different than running Assassin's Creed Odyssey off that same hard drive. Um,
Well, you're just tying in the fact that you're playing a game that doesn't require somebody else's connection as well. Once you include multiplayer into that, you have far more, far
yeah,
more.
yeah. I guess I don't know if they really talked about multiplayer games very much. It was mostly, I know they talked. Somebody like id came out and said Doom Eternal, they were
Yeah, I
gonna be able to
guess.
run at 4K 60 over this.
Yeah, that was something that I had
Um,
heard about too. Was that's going to be the next game they're going to like test on it.
and from what I understand, Assassin's Creed Odyssey was okay, but hands-on, people have been saying that Doom might not be okay because it requires a much lower latency, much more precision with aiming and
Mhm.
stuff like that because it's a first-person shooter.
Mhm.
That it wasn't quite holding up. Because that's going to be that's let's pretend like the internet is there. They got the data centers. It's all working. The price is right. People are playing it. There's a latency issue here because this isn't just watching a movie on Netflix, where there's no interaction. You're actually got to send button presses and see a response on your screen. Um, So if there's any sort of latency there, like we were talking about previously, Derek, you were experiencing some of that with your wired controller in
Yeah.
Sekiro, um, then that could be a big issue too. And what was that?
I was gonna say, while we were talking about that too, I had tested GeForce Now, which was
Mm-hmm.
kind of in principle the same thing that's going to be going on, because this is going to be running off some other computer or device somewhere else that you're connecting to access this game.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it worked good, sometimes it didn't. It really, there's so many factors that tie into this. It's going to really be hard to be like, yeah, this is going to take off and it's going to be awesome. Or
yeah,
no, it's gonna...
I had tested GeForce Now too, a little bit. I played like some PUBG, and I think I played some Fortnite too. And when it worked, it was great. When it didn't, it was awful, because it was like
did not work at all.
The latency was miserable. But when it did work, it was I felt just as good as if I was playing it on the local computer. So they along with this, they didn't announce a console, an actual physical box, because the idea is you're supposed to be playing it on something else you already have, whether it be your computer in a browser window, your phone, your TV, Chromecast, whatever it is. But they did announce a controller, which is interesting because this controller connects to your Wi-Fi independently from whatever you're playing the game on. So the idea is that this controller has a direct connection to Google, to wherever the data center is, independent from whatever's displaying the audio and video. So this is supposed to also cut down on latency, because it has a dedicated connection. It's not waiting for your computer to then receive the input, then send it off to Google. This is sending it directly to them. So I guess we'll see if that has a big factor in controller latency, because I have a Steam Link that when they were selling them for like $6, I grabbed one of the several times that they were selling them, and I've tried it in my own network, just local, and there is latency. Like, you can't play Twitch first-person shooters on this thing because there isn't so much input latency, but it's actually display latency, and you can bring up like a whole grid of like all this information on it. It's actually pretty useful to figure out, to get the best results, and you can see right there that there's like a almost 40 millisecond display latency on my local network. Like, this is all wired, this isn't even wireless. So even on my local network, I wasn't able to get something that was anything what I would consider like playable for games like first-person shooters, like fast games. Like, if I was playing something slow, if I was playing like an adventure game, like a Telltale game or something like that, it'd be perfectly fine. But if I was gonna play, what I was testing with was actually Anthem, and that it was okay, but it had its problems. It definitely did not work very well, and I don't know if this is going to be any better than that. It's hard to tell right now, because that's really all I have to experience to have to call upon. I mean, I guess I could try PlayStation Now and see how that works, if I notice any latency with a fast game on that, to get a kind of idea of a service that's actually in operation right now. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I would even pay for that, because I'd have to look it up and see how much it costs.
I think it's like $9 a month.
$9? That's not too bad. And that's the other thing. They haven't really announced any definite pricing on this yet. So if it's like a subscription service for $9 a month, it might be certainly worth trying out. but
I'm sorry, it's $20 a month.
Okay, yeah, to me that's too much.
The new subscriber, but the new subscribers can get their first month for $9.99.
Oh, I think I would be a new subscriber.
Yes, you would.
All right,
so
I can test it out. Yeah, what do you guys feel about it? Is this something that you think you're going to be trying out, or is it?
It's something you brought up the whole thing about latency, and I'm skeptical. Because you can stream a game. I can literally try and stream to a computer that's sitting right next to my monitor and still get latency on my own network internally. It makes me very skeptical of it. If this controller is going directly to Google, that you're going to be able to play games, like you said, first-person shooters and not have any problems.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to try and do it competitively.
Oh yeah, I mean this wouldn't be. I can't imagine that if you're taking competitive gaming seriously, this is going to be something you're going to be really investing in. It would have to be like you said, like you want to hop on and play your game for 20 minutes while you're waiting for the doctor or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, and that it could be good for that, but
yeah,
I'd still see latency issues with anything, and it really depends on whether or not you're going to notice that. If it's noticeable, it'd definitely be an issue.
Yeah. So the other element of this is like there are other companies that are working on this. You already have PlayStation Now, which is people are kind of lukewarm on. But you have Xbox coming out with their thing, and I guess they're going to be testing that out later this year, actual trials and stuff like that. Now, for me, that's potentially a little bit more interesting for me because from what they've said so far is you can probably play the games you already own through this service, so you won't be rebuying the games. So like let's say Google comes out and it's not a subscription service, you actually have to buy the games through their store. And is that the only way you can play those games? Like is through Google Stadia? Or but with say like Xbox, if you buy the game digitally, you can stream it wherever you want, but then when you're home on your console or on your computer, you're actually playing it locally. So that's to me that would be awesome. Yeah, to me that would be the best of both worlds, where if you have the hardware you can do it. If you don't, then you have the option to stream elsewhere to play it even if you're not home. So that would be a pretty big deciding factor for me as well.
Buying multiple copies is not ideal.
Oh no, I would definitely, if that's the case, that's the road that they go down, then I'm probably never gonna buy anything on it, because why would I buy it when it's locked into this service that might not work well? The other thing on top of that is Google has a history of just giving up on things. Like they have a history of starting things, getting halfway there, and if it doesn't end up being the moneymaker that they're looking or successful, they just like forget about it. It's over. They just did it with Google Plus, which is they're supposed to be their like, I guess it was supposed to be their like social network or something like that. And then there was some security breach in it, and they're just like, okay, instead of fixing it, we're just closing it all down. Literally everything that you've put on the service, if you've invested money, if you've invested time and effort to make your Google Plus profile or something like that, we're just deleting it all, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, which sucks too, because like with like AIM disappearing, everybody kind of went over to like Hangouts, which is part of Google Plus.
Yeah.
And now the few people have been able to hold on to in contact through there, that source of contact's now gone.
So Google Hangouts is getting removed too?
I think it's tied in with Plus.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that was
more. Yeah, it's a little bit more like bigger than just like, oh, the Plus service is gone. There's these sub services that were all a part of what Google Plus is. They're just going to be gone.
I did not know that. Oh, that sucks. But like, yeah, so imagine you buy a bunch of games on this service, and then 6 months down the road, they're like, this isn't worth it for us. We're just shutting it all down, and you're out, whatever you invested in it.
Right.
Same thing with like game saves, because that's all going to be on there, and you can't even transfer. You probably won't even be able to transfer it over to like a Steam copy or something like that.
Right.
It's just going to be all gone because it's going to be all housed on their servers. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's another reason. Like, I'm looking at like what Xbox has done with Game Pass recently, and stuff like that, and like maybe they potentially tie it in with that as well, and you'd lose the issue of like if they decided to shut it down one day, you'd still have your games, you'd still have your saves because they'd be on your console or they'd be on your computer. Yeah, I think Google, I mean, I even if they can get the tech right, there's still a lot of questions about how it's all going to work that makes me a little hesitant to get too excited about it right now, especially. But they say they are going to talk about it more in the summer. If that means E3, if that means like what all the other companies are doing, kind of doing their own thing, I don't know what that means exactly. But hopefully we get some more information on it. And at any rate, it seems like we're moving in that direction. Like next generation anyway is going to be, I think there's still going to be hardware next generation, but I think there's also going to be a big push toward these streaming services and games as a service kind of thing.
I really hope not. I do like the idea of digital games, but I don't like the idea of streaming games.
Yeah, I think it all depends on execution. It has to be executed right, and like we were saying before, having it be an option and not the only way is a big
sustainability
factor
of it as well.
Yeah, like having it be something that you can use if you want to, but if you don't, if you have the ability, you can play traditional. And I know Lee's a big physical game fan, so I can't imagine that this applies to him very well.
I'm out of it up until my phone.
Yeah.
I have
because the way they can pull licenses and stuff from digital stores and stuff, things just end up disappearing. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen any of my games
There's no
disappear.
kind of storage for this sort of thing. If they decide to pull it and then it just throw it in the digital bin. There's no kind of, I'm not sure what the archiving for this sort of thing.
There have been a couple of situations where digital games have just been removed. They're very rare, but there's been a couple. Like they just closed down something with the Wii U eShop or something like that, or something, and it was like real. It wasn't even necessary for Nintendo to do it because it was really just a matter of keeping servers up or something like that, and it was very abrupt, and people lost a lot of access to a lot of their content. I think if you had downloaded it previously, you would have been fine, but you can't even go back and download those digital purchases right now. I believe that's the situation that
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the doomsday situation that a lot of people talk about when they talk about this, and up until recently it really hadn't been that big of a deal. Like there'd been a couple of situations here and there, but more recently with that Nintendo thing, that kind of like opened up the possibility of like, this kind of thing could happen. Sony could do it, Xbox could do it, Steam could do it. I don't know.
It's like that with a lot of digital operations, especially like in digital movies. There's no long-term archive storage solution for digital movies. So if kind of the master gets lost or corrupted, you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Strange time. They haven't really sorted out a long-term storage like you do with film, actual real film.
Yeah, and even film long-term can fall apart too.
Yeah.
Which is why they convert some of it to digital, so it lasts a little bit longer. But then if you drop the thumb drive down the drain.
I just I don't know. I'm more of a proponent of digital, mostly because of space. Says the guy with all the pops.
Yeah, would you convert all of those pops to digital?
I mean, I could. If I wanted. If I could, I would have.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I have over 1,000 Blu-rays myself in boxes, in my home, in which I have the physical copy, and I always get, from my wife asking, why do you buy the Blu-ray when we get the digital copy too? Because exactly what Leah's saying.
Yeah.
But as far as games go, they don't give you both options. If I had both options, I'd probably do that. But it's more about having space for that disc. And then sometimes when you have kids and your kid gets a hold of your game, scratches it, there goes that game.
Well, wasn't there a digital movie service that is closing? It's like you would get the code in the box and then you'd be able to redeem it, but now they're shutting it down. Is it Ultraviolet?
Yeah, Ultraviolet's done. Yeah, this is a different stand. Yeah.
Ultraviolet, I don't know if it's shutting down as much as they were just bought out by a different company.
Ultraviolet Cloud Movie Locker to shut down.
I think that's something to do with Sony. Used to do Ultraviolet.
I've never used them. I've always used the Voodoo.
They have expiry dates, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, the codes do.
Yeah, but they all, those usually come into things like Voodoo and so forth, the Ultraviolet ones. So.
Right, but I just recently went through and ripped all of my Blu-rays, and I still had codes in there for some of the movies, and some of them were Ultraviolet, and a lot of them had already expired like 3-4 years ago. But so if I had gone and redeemed all of those and then was like, oh, I guess I can get rid of this Blu-ray now because I have this digital version, fuck me, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, because like I said, some of mine were digital from Ultraviolet, are in Voodoo, but they're still there. So I don't know.
It's not happening until the 31st of July.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll find out.
Yeah. There's stuff out there. There may be ways to back it up or something like that. You might want to look into that if you're interested. Yeah, so I guess it's at this point it's a to be seen situation with Google Stadia and the state of this streaming games future kind of deal. And I'm interested. Whatever ends up happening, as long as the service is affordable, I'm definitely gonna check it out. Because I'm just that's kind of I'm interested. I'm interested to see how it's presented, how it works, and everything like that. But I don't think I'm gonna be jumping on the bandwagon and being like, all right, let's do this. 100% streaming future. Let's go. Because I don't think it's there yet. There'd have to be a really good sales pitch.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else got anything they want to add before we wrap it up?
I did read on here for your Ultraviolet thing that if anybody's listening, do not
I am.
unlink your stuff with Voodoo, because if you do, it will wipe your entire library. But if you keep it linked with Voodoo, you should be able to keep all your movies.
So don't link it with Voodoo?
Don't unlink it with Voodoo.
But don't unlink it with Voodoo. So if it's already linked with Voodoo, you're good. Yeah. But what if it's not linked with Voodoo? Can you do it right now?
You might want to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, you might want to do that before July 31st.
Okay. All right. Well, there's your PSA. Not gonna affect me because I don't think I redeemed a single one of those codes I ever got. So.
I have probably 600 of them. So.
Okay. So yeah, you should probably make sure you get that squared away.
Yeah, they came with the movie. They were free. They came with the movie, so.
Yeah, I know, but I had the movie, and I was literally the only time I ever look at a Blu-ray disc is when I'm gonna put it in my computer to turn it into a digital copy myself. So, otherwise,
don't say that.
Yeah. It's illegal.
No, it's not. Because then I plug it out. I plug one hard drive into my Xbox, and then I have everything there, and it's so convenient. Then I can put them all in a bin, and I can put them away, and they can stay over there for eternity until they rot into whatever they're gonna rot into.
You can FedEx them to me. I'll look after them.
Okay, right. Yeah, no problem. I'll ship them over.
You're paying the shipping, right?
Yeah. All right, that's gonna do it. Thanks everybody for tuning in. If you want to follow everything we do, you can check out the Voxel Voice Facebook group. You can also check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/VoxelVoice. And check out the website too, because these things go up on the website, and we also have reviews that we don't talk about here on the website and stuff like that. Anybody want to give any shout outs before I close it up?
I think we're good.
No? Good.
I'm playing a little quickie at the moment called Rico, which is like kind of a fun little first person shooter with a kind of a cell shaded, almost like, if you remember 13, the old game 13.
Yes.
That weird shell shaded aesthetic, and it's kind of one of these kind of fast paced shooter type through police cop type things. That's quite fun. Have a look at that if you get a chance to.
Cool. What's that on Xbox? On Xbox?
Xbox, everything actually. It's also on Switch. It's kind of a little bit like there was a Devolve. It's a little bit like a Devolve game, a little bit like High Hell. If you remember High Hell.
All right, yeah, I remember High Hell. Rico,
yeah,
RICO.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Check it out if you're into those kinds of Twitch shooters. High Hell was fun. That was fun.
Yeah.
All right, thanks guys. Peace.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.